we are live. Welcome to my video. This is going to be my thoughts on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, Episode 1, The New Deal. The episode is TV 14 or something like that, so will this video be. There will be spoilers for the episode and everything MCU and adjacent leading up to it. And yeah, yet another episode I love. Continues to be every single one. And yeah, 7 season openers, all of them excellent. I am in awe of the quality of this show. Yeah, lots to get into here. Let's see. I think I will just start with the very effective opening. This thing of, we meet several, corrupt cops, aka American cops, and ACAB all the way. And yeah, the Chronicoms, know who exactly who the guy in charge is, and they go about stealing their faces. Very effective, effect. The CG as the face is being erased from the, see, if that had been part of the movie Eraser, I think it would have done better. Am I remembering right that Chuck Russell directed that? I think that's the only movie I've seen that Chuck Russell directed that I don't love. Fair enough. The other ones being, The Mask. I want to say the third Freddy Krueger movie. And yeah, what can I say? I do think that The Scorpion King, that first movie at least, is pretty good. I haven't watched the sequels. I'm not sure I'm going to. I haven't heard particularly good things about them. But that first movie, yeah, a lot to love in that one. Anyway, yeah. I think I will just briefly touch upon, so obviously there's some Terminator going on here. I kind of love that this is the Terminator if, the first movie, The Terminator, the 1984 movie, if the equivalent of Kyle Reese was sent back not to save Sarah Connor, but to ensure, to protect a young Miles Dyson instead, that's a very fun twist on it. Because, they're not gonna do just the Terminator. They didn't do just the Matrix. Just, robots that infiltrate. These various things that we've seen elsewhere before. But, they always add something interesting to them, in my opinion. Let's see. We see the Zephyr. Is that the there's so many new words for me to keep track of. The invisible, jet that they use. Land on the grass. Different decade, but actually, fun fact, same spot that the Bird of Prey lands in. Let's see. So I did mention that they certainly do want to keep these characters and, or at the very least actors, around. I do appreciate this one does. We saw that big time in the season 6 finale. I do appreciate that there are consequences. So far, Elena has not been allowed to leave the ship because they don't, there's unknown pathogen. May does not seem like she's okay by the end of the post-credit scene. I feel bad for Enoch. He's like, oh, you had one job. You have many jobs. But yeah. And yeah, by the end of the episode, it seems like Colelum Deason, the LMD of Coulson, is Phil MD Coulson. Let's go with that. That rolls off the tongue better. It seems like Phil MD is more comfortable in his skin equivalent than he was at the start of the episode, understandably so. But yeah, they are actually dealing with the fact that this is not quite the same as they did with Sarge. This is not Phil Coulson. Yeah, 2 years of memories in 10 seconds. Holy crap. One can understand why he's kind of messed up by it. But yeah, the thing with, yeah, I appreciate that we jump right back to that moment and follow up on it immediately instead of jumping ahead. Yeah, Daisy presses the button before they've had the debate, and Mac does say this is an executive privilege. This is a director level decision. Simmons trying to explain it, and then Daisy just blurting out, yeah. I don't think she's the best to deliver bad news. But then, right from the pilot of the show, she does, she wants people to know the truth. She's not really someone who likes to just gentle. Well, sometimes she can be gentle about it, but she likes people to know the truth quite consistently. Right, I think they did a good job on Simmons being somewhat more cold and harsh here without it feeling like character assassination. It's been a while. It's, yeah, the whole time travel thing, and Fitz isn't there. Yeah. I think that pretty well brings... Yeah, I appreciated the discussion about the arms, because, like, if she's going to get off the plane at some point in this time... And I don't think they're going to go the entire season without her getting to experience 1931. Yeah, it's necessary for her to blend in better. But, her pointing out, I'm not ashamed of this. I don't want to pretend like it didn't happen. And that is a very healthy attitude to have around, and I've heard, I don't know the exact percentage. I'm sure if you want to know, it's probably lookupable, Googleable. There are disabled people who don't really try to blend in, who want people to be able to see this person is disabled. And one of the, one of the groups I've seen is specifically, as, with Elena, people who, for one reason or another, need prosthetic limbs. Some choose limbs that, draw attention, have like bright colors, and maybe sometimes don't look the way you would expect, for example, an arm or a leg to look, and yeah, really appreciate the show actually, dealing with that. There's a lot of ableism in mainstream media, depictions of disabled people, including all too recently. Yeah, I think that does bring us to... right, I like, so, this is Enoch. I know some of you haven't been properly officially introduced. And at one point we see him, like, we see Enoch, the movements, like, it looks like Enoch is, like, playing some instrument or something, and, yeah, it's healing May. Given that I haven't talked about this show for weeks, I think we're due for another, underlining that Enoch is completely awesome. I am so glad this character is still on the show. I think that brings us nicely to, nicely done, Deke. Always nice to be able to say that. Don't always get to, because he doesn't always come through. But yeah, $13, and he got all of them. These, I mean, he's like, well, Great Depression. I'm not talking about the price. He did a good job finding stuff that, they all They look so good. Like, can we just appreciate like the costume and makeup department for this show? Like, holy crap! And they look so fancy. You know, I get why some people are nostalgic for at least the clothes, the fashion of this time. Politics less so. But yeah, I thought they did a good job this episode handling, you know, the bigotry, the Daisy's line about, yeah, if I can only hold on to a husband, and then she threatens him, and the whole, and the thing with, in front of people like them, that was a great, yeah, you don't want them to see you getting beaten up by a girl, do you? So just, yeah. Yeah, and Mac confronting racists and such. Yeah, the the little stars. A child could have done better. Did you find these in a cereal box? These, yeah. Oh right, I definitely want to Holy crap! The performance. I can't believe it. I'm Clark Gregg. That's it. As Phil MD. You know, talking about all the things he remembers and remember dying again. And at one point they talk about well, I remember writing you a letter, but that wasn't really me. Well, maybe you could read it sometime. It was a pretty good letter, although, pro tip for next time, make sure you remove the ChatGPT prompt. And I think that does bring us nicely to, yeah, they go up to the cops. We're Canadian Mounties. You found some dead bodies with their faces missing. Happens all the time in Canada. That is a truly spectacular sentence. Thank you for that, whoever wrote and directed that. That's, yeah. Yeah, and they get to go in and Deke runs the machine. And the thing about, can't that thing run any faster? Well, it's scanning his DNA and estimating what his face used to look like. How fast would you like it to move? I really appreciate this is a show where basically everyone gets to make clever remarks. And yeah, Daisy doesn't realize right away that those are chronocops. Right, I also like the thing with, no patent filing. And I'm watching you. Remember, no big waves. I'm feeling very targeted, right? I came out to do Spycraft, and I'm honestly feeling so attacked right now. And yeah, Daisy goes right out in there, and they immediately recognize her. She doesn't recognize them, so there's the thing, there's a suspicious truck. Maybe we could check it out together. Very nicely done. And I love the thing with, Abel, Kane, smile, if you're able. If you can. Yeah, I think I got that backwards, whatever. And then he goes up. There might be screaming. Don't come inside, if you value your life. A for effort. Bad timing. Bad timing for the smile, though, Possibly a reference to the deleted scene from T2 that became a running gag in T5. Let's see. I think that I understand a number of people want it cut. I thought it was fine. The gag and the movie. Yeah, I think right after watching it, I was pretty happy with it. Watching it again and given some time, I'm like, it's fine. But yeah, and the other cop does go in and knows who Deke is, and I love the little thing. Deke just barely gets the scan done and looks at the picture, hides the scanning equipment, and the moment that he turns around, the face of the cop is the face of the guy, the dead guy, the dead body. So he knows, and I know you, officer of the law, as I always have been, and grabs him, and he uses it as a weapon. I do really appreciate Deke, very frequently good at like thinking on his feet and improvising this sort of thing. Yeah, why wouldn't it be effective as a weapon? He really just has to like distract the Chronocop just long enough that he can run, And that's the thing. I mean, computers don't always handle, unfamiliar input all that well. So that's basically, I feel like that's what happens there, because I mean, they don't feel pain, I don't think. So yeah, it's just like, and I mean that, yeah, I guess the machine probably does have some sort of effect on the body, that because he's only been using it on the dead bodies. That was also great. Can you just stick that thing anywhere and right in the face? Somebody who worked on this episode really likes that thing. Like, I'm almost surprised Gemma didn't jam that thing into the Chronocop's face, but instead going for the back of his head, but their head. But I mean, that would be extra effects work, so I appreciate them. Because we never do see the open, gaping wound at the back of the Chronocop's head. I don't think. Anyway, yeah, let's. Yeah, good, as usual, good action. Uh, I think. Yeah, it was clever that yeah. Daisy manages to quake one of them onto the truck, and the thing with can you get this running? Oh, I should be able to. I got it running. I'm very proud. Now let's go. Yeah. I really do appreciate the relationship between Deacon and Daisy. Um, and yeah, the other Chronocop comes running and is like, I mean, I guess they could stay and fight, but she struggles slightly with just the one. And what if the other one wakes up before they get away? Then they're fighting two Chronocops, at least one of them with a gun. So just, yeah. That was also great. He doesn't, the Chronocop doesn't think of, what about the mirror? So she just barely gets enough of a head start to fight back. I thought they did a good job with, the various characters, like super strength and such. I will say, when they're fighting in the kitchen, I guess it is, did get a little bit of like a Matrix Reloaded vibe, like, oh, everyone's like superpower. I mean, I guess Daisy can't take as much, violence against her, but she does have the superpower, and everyone else is Chronocop or LMD or the like, and yeah. But there were some good gags using the bit with the frying pan, I think it was. That was, yeah. Uh, I think that does bring us. Yeah, clever to get information out of the Chronocop. I'm on the record as I am not really a fan of scenes of torture working. I think torture should fairly seldom be depicted in media at all, and when it is, I think it should be used ineffectively by the bad guys. That actually, before 9/11, there was a bit of a trend of that being the case. Um, yeah, the where does that leave us? But yeah, that's where we really see Simmons, Gemma Simmons. I'm so used to saying Fitzsimmons. Gemma is seen very cold and harsh, and yeah, the other ones are like, are you sure about this? And yeah, she does ultimately. That was very clever. This thing of like, because he does the Chronocop before saying FDR does say Frr, and we think it's because they're struggling with because of all the data, but no, they were trying to say Freddy, and yeah, FDR and Freddy. Technically, if you swap letter or two around, Freddy becomes FDR. So very nicely done on that. And yeah, they're gonna have to save Hydra, and yeah. So yeah, family tragedy really does run in Hydra right from the start. But yeah, the right, very cool. Another Everwood cast member joins the MCU here. I think that does pretty well get. She also looked great. I mean, she looked great on Everwood as well. But yeah, very very fancy, classy. Right, good job by the FDR actor as well. This episode was definitely written by someone who, like, at one point, Daisy does come right out and say, "Your fanboy is showing," just which, like, mighty, she's one to talk anyway. Um, but yeah, someone working on this episode definitely really, really admires FDR. I don't know enough about him to say, you know, 100% if but I what I do know about him, there's a lot to be very impressed by, a lot to model oneself after. And yeah, I did like the dad joke of, it'll be a whole new deal. Sorry, glitch. Yeah, I think that does. Right, very clever. I did think they're gonna, like, shoot him while he's on the stage, while he's giving a speech, but then they're like, I mean, he's right out there. Oh, maybe that's the problem. They don't want him when he's right out there, and turns out to be Freddy they were going for. And, at first I did think, wow, that Chrono Cop is really, really slow at attaching a silencer to that pistol, but I'm pretty sure the one it cut to near the end was actually the other Chrono Cop, who I guess started later applying the silencer. I mean, they needed something to build tension. It doesn't take that long to apply a silencer. I'm told. I don't have any real life first-hand experience with guns. Yeah, I think that does bring us to... Yeah, it was a great reveal on her. Like, we don't know exactly what's going on with her, but we can tell she knows something. There's something more going on. Great to see another Koenig. Yeah, possibly worst one yet. I really love the Koenigs. I'm so glad they found a way to bring back... Yeah, they really, on this show, when they fall in love with an actor, holy crap, they bend over backwards to make sure they can feature them. Yeah. I think that does bring us to, yeah, some great conversations with Koenig and his men. The thing about, so you come here right after our guy gets killed, yeah, it looks very suspicious, and the fact that he knows swordfish doesn't mean that he's one of them. I think the that pretty well covers. Yeah, very tense when they managed to rescue Freddy, although the female spy does get hit and they're gonna try to save her. Also looking forward to that. Yeah. I think that does pretty well cover everything in this episode. There's some great stuff in the IMDb trivia section. I think I've commented on all that I had anything to say about. Yeah, really loving this thing of them in the past. Some really great stuff. And yeah, I really appreciate, they're not really wasting any time getting into the stuff. Like, it hits the ground running. Like, immediately, the Chrono Cops have cop faces. And, like, by the end of this episode, 2 of them are still out there. The agents know what they look like now, but they're still cops. There's a lot of, yeah, offers them a lot of protection and power, which is, of course, why they chose cops. And let's see. Right, I liked the explanation of the time travel theory. No butterfly effect. What was it? Time stream, I think. So don't build a dam of bundles of sticks. But it's okay to just, yeah. Let's see. Should I not say bundles of sticks? I swear I'm not trying to be, like, homophobic or anything. I don't know. I think I picked it up from Kaylin Conrad, who keeps, that they'll introduce themselves in their YouTube videos as it's your favorite bundle of sticks, and that just, I love that. I love this reclaiming of slurs. I'm so in favor of it. I swear I'm not trying to, like, make light of the, yeah. I'll try to be more careful in the future. I'm not always the best at remembering, oh, right, that's a fun thing to say. It's not for me to say. Yeah, I think that does cover it. yeah, really looking forward to more. And it'll be just a few days from now. Um, I guess Saturday is the plan right now for when I next. Yeah. Uh, is there anything fun I could end the episode on? Yeah, I continue to really love. They're really like neck deep into like legs first, not head first, into they're yeah, crap. What? How does that go? Drowning or just stuck? Anyway, yeah. In the comic book, weirdness, and I use that as a descriptive, neutral term, not as a negative, because like yeah, so many characters right here, like dealing with so many unusual things, like stuff you never get out of stuff that either is directly like comic book adaptation, or something inspired by comic books, which is also it's very appropriate that they do their own spin on the Terminator, because I'm sorry, there's definitely some comic book inspiration there. There is. It is not very typical for there to be that many such like very specific sci-fi elements, stuff you'd never get outside of sci-fi in just one story. Like normally you'd get one of these things, and that first Terminator movie has like five. So, and I think this episode might have 15. So yeah, I'm here for it. I think that does pretty well cover. Yeah, I think they're doing a really great job here setting up. Like, I think there's a chance they're going to be able to save the lady in red. I mean, I guess she's sort of Hydra, so yeah, they might have to work with her, or at the very least make sure nothing bad happens to her. Possibly if Wilfred Malik is going to keep, if she continues to be his contact, if she dies, that might be a problem. And yeah, I mean, Koenig is not the biggest fan of working with them, but it might be in. I mean, right now he buys, I mean, technically, what they said is not a lie. It's just not the complete truth, understandably. But yeah, he wants their help to get rid of these killers because they killed one of his guys, and this is bad for business. And that's the thing he cares about, it's not so much sentimentality. Would you guys stop bleeding on my floor?